5-volume set on the history of the Sikhs is perhaps the most authoritative. And even Bhagat Singh's book on the missiles, he is simply Deep Singh. And also, having gone to Hardwar and seen our Panda Vai, even there he is Deep Singh.
Yeah.
Also in ancient texts by Ratan Singh Pangu, his Prachin Pant Prakash, Gyani Gyan Singh's Naveen Pant Prakash, he's basically mostly Deep Singh. So it's, I think, as a matter of fact, honorifics seldom find place in research publication. So that explains why the title is what it is. Before I delve into the subject, I'm tempted to draw an interesting parallel between the American and the Sikh experience of war fighting. The Americans take pride in their right to bear arms as an inalienable symbol of the gun that helped them tame the West in the 19th century. In an entirely different asymmetric context, much earlier in the 18th century, the Sikhs had won the rare distinction now enshrined in the Indian Constitution to carry the symbolic sword that had powered them to sovereignty against their tyrannical overlords. I have a structured presentation through which I'll try to first build context and then proceed to interweave key aspects of Deep Singh's life and work alongside the broad framework of this biography. In the military world, we readily accept the man behind the weapon to be always more important than the weapon itself. So what of the Sikh men and women who wielded the sword during this period? Deep Singh was certainly among the foremost. His life intersects perhaps the most turbulent period in the history of the Punjab, an era that historians often refer to as the heroic century, because in their insurrections against egregious tyranny, the Sikhs were enjoined by their creed to be supremely brave and undaunted, never to yield to an enemy under any circumstances, and in the pursuit of justice to be prepared to undergo suffering even to the point of martyrdom. They were few in number when opposed to the legions of their enemies. They were poor and of small repute if compared with their oppressors who commanded the whole resources of Hindustan. With nothing but their faith, their brave hearts, and their swords, they engaged in a death struggle with the Mughal Empire, while persecutions strengthened their obstinate attachment to their faith. The Sikhs eventually prevailed in their struggle because all along, inspired by the 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, they were illumined by an obsessive, divinely ordained Promethean zeal to accept nothing short of sovereignty. This uncompromising zest for independence is best expressed by this quote in Braj Bhasha from Gyani Gyan Singh. You can all read the Punjabi. If you can't, I'll just give you the translation. All of them knew their resolve, the Guru would kingship sure devolve, a king in every saddle place, his word nobody could efface. Now here, Hune actually is Braj Bhasha for saddle. In this context, it means a king in every saddle. That's what the Guru is supposed to have granted the Sikhs as a dream, as an aspiration. A king in every saddle. This set the Sikhs apart in their freedom struggle from both the Rajputs and the Marathas. While the former sought status quo to be able to retain their Watan Jagirs, a Jagir normally lasted a lifetime. After that, it lapsed back to the state. But the Rajputs were granted Watan Jagirs, which were conferred even beyond the lifetime. The Marathas represented a Hindu dynastic revival in competition with the Mughals. They sought political change, but rooted within a traditional Indian society. The Sikhs, however, sought a new social covenant and a new political arrangement. It was not a coincidence that out of the three, only the Sikhs rejected monarchy and sought to hold power in the name of the collective will of the people, the Khalsa. Baba Deep Singh, the Shaheed, in fact, this is a question that everyone asks, why have you got the title after the name? That the explanation will come up now. He was baptized by Guru Gobind Singh in April 1700 and personally mentored by him and Bhai Mani Singh, his most learned devotee. He is counted among the most revered heroes of Sikh history and the living embodiment of the Khalsa ideology, as much in belief and appearance as in action and martyrdom. The title Shaheed was conferred upon him ante-mortem by Guru Gobind Singh for passing a test of death-defying courage in 1706 at Damdama Sahib. This is Ratan Singh Pangu's Saki number 79. He was given this title during his lifetime. And of course, he's a rare case where the title is used as a suffix because it became a kind of a surname. His missal was called the Missal Shahidan. The Jatha that he raised in 1734, when the two dals were raised, the Buddha Dal and the Taruna Dal, he was part of the Buddha Dal. His Dal was called the Shahidan Ningawala Dal. So the title was carried forward after this. And it was endorsed in a panthic investiture by Banda Bahadur for repeatedly distinguishing himself fighting in the van during battles alongside Banda Bahadur. So he was given the title by Guru Gobind Singh because he passed a test of death-defying courage. It was endorsed by Banda Bahadur because he fought alongside him in all the battles. And this Panthic investiture happened after the Battle of Chapar Chiri because Baba Deep Singh and his warriors would always fight in the front. Now let's look at the Khalsa ideology. It's quite relevant. It is best expressed by the poet Bhai Nandlal, who'd spent several years beside Guru Gobind Singh after he'd founded the Khalsa in March 1699. These lines from his Tankhanama capture its essence. I've only taken some of the lines because of the brevity of time. You can all read, Khalsa is the one who contains in the first rank. Khalsa is infused with the divine name. Khalsa is the one who helps the helpless. Khalsa is the one who annihilates evildoers. Khalsa is the one who fights in righteous war, Dharam-yudh. Khalsa is the one who adorns himself with arms. Now, when we review Deep Singh's life, we at once acknowledge that he demonstrated all these attributes in good measure. In addition to these dimensions central to the Khalsa ideology, Guru Gobind Singh had personally expressed its chief mission. An oft-quoted stanza from Guru Gobind Singh. I will not read the Punjabi, but basically it means that for this role I have come into this world, spread dharma everywhere, seize, defeat, and knock down tyrants and evildoers. The aim is to spread dharma, save holy men, and extirpate the wicked. Now, these are not your usual proclivities to war. Let's pause and think why man has always sought to resolve issues through war. What are the proclivities to war? The Occidental view, for which is best expressed by Kipling in his couplet, 4 things greater than all things are, women and horses and power and war. So that's why man waged war, for women and horses and power and war, the usual proclivities to war. The Oriental view is only slightly different. Zan, Zar, Zameen, women, wealth, and land, but not Guru Gobind Singh. In a masterstroke of genius as one of the great saviors of mankind, Guru Gobind Singh had declared war in favor of human rights, civil liberties, and political freedom, anteceding the ideals of the US Declaration of Independence of 1776 and the French Revolution of 1789 by almost a century. Given Guru Gobind Singh's oppressive circumstances as a non-member of the ruling elite, this was surely a very brave initiative. The Khalsa ideology was based on liberty, equality, and fraternity. This is what Gupta says. This is a quote from Gupta, volume 4, page 4. These are political idioms far ahead of their time when Guru Gobind Singh made a slogan of them. And these became, much later, they became a popular rallying cry, as we are all aware of, during the French Revolution. The all-class composition of the Guru's army also predated the French levy en masse that came much later in the 1790s and helped France raise large armies. India, as we all know, that we had the caste distinctions, so only the warrior class could actually fight in a war. But Guru Gobind Singh changed that. His army was all class. And this again anteceded the levy en masse, by which the French raised huge, large armies, but that was through conscription. So there's a difference there. As warrior saints, the Khalsa successfully achieved a melding of the spiritual and the temporal. Even their weapons were often inscribed with scriptural dictums, very important, an important lesson from history. Even the weapons had scriptures inscribed on them so that they would be used correctly. A large collection of Deep Singh's weapons is preserved at the Akal Takht in Harmandir Sahib. Most carry scriptural inscriptions. In the age of Sikh chivalry, it is chiefly this improbable synthesis of the temporal and the spiritual that helped the Sikhs pioneer the just war tradition, as we know it today. The just war tradition. The UN talks a lot about this. Whenever there's a war, they analyze it in terms of the just war tradition. What is the just war tradition? In a nutshell, it means they would only fight sacralized battles, dharma yudh, or righteous war. No other war. During war, their conduct would remain irreproachable, and war would be the last resort. Chukar Azama, as we are all aware, the oft-quoted couplet from the Zafarnama, Guru Gobind Singh Zafarnama, very often quoted. Theory apart, this is theory. How did the Khalsa ideology fare in actual combat? I mean, is it just theory or did they actually practice it? The Sikhs themselves have left little record for posterity. For this, we must turn to enemy war diaries or their European contemporaries who happen to observe the Khalsa's war-fighting ability. Now, these are accounts of some rather unlikely encomium by Qazi Nur Muhammad, who accompanied the Afghan king Ahmad Shah Durrani during his 7th invasion of India in 1764-65. These are quotes from the war diaries. I've only taken a few, lots of them. Besides their fighting, there is one more thing in which they excel all other warriors. At no point will they kill a namard, a helpless person, or chase a fugitive. They will not rob the jewelry of a lady, rich or poor. There are no thugs, thieves, or pillagers among them. These are enemy war diaries. If you wish to learn the art of war, come before them in the field. Learn from them how to face the enemy like a hero and then swiftly and safely disengage. This Taifat strategy was improvised because of their short numbers. They were always outnumbered in the field. So this was you strike with surprise, cause maximum damage, and then pull back. Don't get killed. Can't afford to. Some more. I think you can all read, so I don't have to read that. Truly lions in battle, roaring with their war cry. In generosity, they surpass Hatim. When they take the Indian sword in their hand, they traverse the country from Hind to Sindh. None can stand against them in battle, howsoever strong. The interesting thing is that, this is enemy war diary. And this is unqualified praise. And this unqualified praise notwithstanding, these accounts from enemy war diaries are generously interlaced with invective. I've filtered that out. Because the most common reference to the Sikhs is as dogs, but yet there's so much praise by the enemy. When they handle the spear, they shatter the ranks of the enemy. The body of every one of them is like a piece of rock, and in physical grandeur, every one of them is more than 50 Ghazis. This sect abounds in giant size and lion-limbed youths whose stroke of the leg would cause instantaneous death to a Vilaiti horse. Their matchlock strikes a man at a distance of 900 paces, and each of them covers 200 kos. Kos is 200 would be 6. 1 ko is 3 kilometers, so it's 600 kilometers on horseback. Their success and conquests have largely originated from an activity unparalleled by other Indian nations. From their endurance of excessive fatigue, their personal endowments are derived from a temperance of diet and a forbearance from many of those sensual pleasures. The astonishing superiority man for man over all other fighting forces of India was due to the Sikh character, training and organization. Jadunath Sarkar, a very authoritative Indian historian. Relevant to note that Deep Singh was prominent among the Khalsa helm of the time who built this fearsome reputation. And now we've looked at an enemy war diary about the Khalsa's fighting ability in general. Now let's look at an enemy war diary about Deep Singh's last battle, 1757. There was an eyewitness account. Taimus Khan Miskeen was part of the enemy force that was mobilized from Lahore under Jahan Khan. So this is what he has to say. But before that, let's take a look at the prequel. During his fourth invasion in January to March 1757, after he'd ravaged Delhi, Mathura, sorry for the typo, Vrindavan and Agra, Ahmed Shah Durrani began his return journey through the Punjab. His baggage train of some 100,000 animal loads of loot included thousands of captive women. It is believed that not a single animal survived. They were all commandeered. No sooner had he entered the Punjab than he was repeatedly attacked by marauding bands of Sikh missiles, Deep Singh's Shaheeds among them, and relieved of much of his booty. Even his teenage son, Taimur Shah, was not spared. It was rumored that he'd been killed, but he wasn't. He was, I think, just attacked and perhaps robbed or something. Incensed, when Ahmed Shah Durrani reached Lahore, he had Amritsar and its temple destroyed. This was the pattern always. In retaliation, Deep Singh, then 75 years of age, inspired and led a randomly armed assemblage of around 5,000 Sikhs against the might of an Afghan army mobilized from Lahore. Fought on 11th November 1757, the battle began about 12 kilometers south of Amritsar and continued right up to Harmandir Sahib, the Sikh objective for the day. The interesting thing is that in military terms, if you look at this advance, you're advancing 12 kilometers, you're dying, you're being martyred, but you advance 12 kilometers against a superior force, which is commendable. And what makes, here we are. So this is from the enemy war diary. Taimus Khan Miskeen. A fierce battle ensued and the opposing forces showered fire upon each other using all available weaponry. The Sikhs seemed to have surrounded us in a tight noose that they now sought to tighten. Our force came under such pressure that many of our soldiers tried to desert, but were unable to because we were completely surrounded. This is tactical brilliance. How does a smaller force surround and put a noose around a larger force? The Wazir, that is Jahan Khan, was a brave man and fought off the enemy with great vigor. At this juncture, I was by his side and I saw the Wazir wound several of his own men with his sword, who were trying to flee so that he could deter others from doing likewise. Amazing courage. That's the consequence, the outcome of the battle. Outnumbered and out-equipped. This is contrary to how it is portrayed in popular ballads and Tadi Jathas. Outnumbered and out-equipped in a feat of rare courage, blistering resolve, and tactical brilliance. Although killed almost to a man, the Sikhs sold their lives dearly, many, including their commander, Deep Singh, advancing 12 kilometers to their objective before finding glorious death in battle. So, I mean, I've dealt with this, I've studied, I've been to the ground, I've studied, I've done a battle study of this area. And the popular narrative is that, you know, the Sikhs, they killed everyone and they all ran away and all that, but actually it was the other way around. And that explains why all of them died. But it is a glorious death. The contents of the book, I think that's about it. Epigraphs. The 3 epigraphs to the book. Until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. African proverb. This shall remain the land of the free so long as it is the home of the brave. The legitimate object of war is a more perfect peace. Inscription on General Sherman's statue in Washington, D.C. As a reflection of its essence, the epigraphs of the book together emblematize war, peace, and righteousness. Baba Deep Singh believed in all this. He was a warrior. He fought for nationhood, for sovereignty, and he believed in peace. Very important. On some reviews, I think we have a panel discussion now, so we can do the Q&A later. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Colonel Singh. So now we will have a panel discussion, but before that we are going to have unveiling of the book. So I would now like to invite our Consul General Shri Randeep Jaiswal and of course Colonel Singh onto the stage. Can we have the backdrop of the book?
Congratulations. Yes, congrats. Great comment from you. That's good.
Okay. I would now request Consul General Shri Randeep Jaiswal and author of the book onto the stage for a panel discussion on the book. So please.
So thank you, Colonel, for explaining the book to the audience. Many of us here are from the Sikh community. They know who Baba Deep Singh is, but for many of us, and for them as well, going into the life of Baba Deep Singh in a manner that you have done would bring out many important aspects of his life, not just as a military commander, but as a Sant Sipahi. He was also a Sant, a scholar par excellence, an issue that we'll come to later in our conversation. When we're looking for some sort of conversation, given the title of the book, given the subject of the book, I said, let me try my hand and engage you in a conversation. That's how I took the job upon myself. So let me start with a very basic question. Baba Deep Singh is very well known in Punjab and in India and abroad in many quarters. There is enough literature on his life. There are so many oral traditions, Gurdwaras, Damdama Sahib, and a lot more about his life, his legacy. In such a situation, what motivated you as an army man to write this book? What was the main reason you thought that you will pull the various sources together and do a book on Baba Deep Singh?
Can you hear me?
No.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah, so I'll have to try and sort of curtail the answer. One, I'm from the same village. My village is Pauwind, Baba Deep Singh's village. So I grew up on this narrative. I mean, as a little boy, I remember standing by my dad's side in Harmandir Sahib and looking at the Shaheed Bunga and my father telling me, must have been 3 or 4 years old. We're looking up and he's saying that that's Baba Deep Singh and he's from our family. So everyone in the village thinks that he's from our family. And so I just had this curiosity and I thought that, and the second thing that sort of inspired me to write the book was that there is so much, like the Honorable Consul General has just mentioned, that he is deeply ingrained in our psyche. He is deeply ingrained in our culture. You find his sticker, with a broadsword, khanda in hand, on cars, on trucks. His pictures there in every home, in shops. There are gurdwaras to his name. In fact, Gurdwara Shaheedganj in Amritsar, I know from authoritative sources, reliable sources, that it is next in footfall after Harmandir Sahib. And he's not even a guru. He's only a Baba. So how do you explain this? So there's, these are questions that form in your mind and you want to answer them. And I think what really put a new spin to my endeavor was that when I went to our Panda in the Tirath Purohit in Hardwar. So I had gone there a couple of times to find out about my own family. I did. And then I wanted to find out about Baba Deep Singh, and he couldn't find it. He says, so I thought, hey, maybe it's a myth. But the third or fourth time when I went there, we found him there. First page, because you have segments, you have pattis in villages. So I'd be looking up the wrong patti. When I saw his patti, he was on the first page. And there's an entry in 1785. That's when I thought, hey, this is a narrative that has to be shared widely as possible. So.
Thank you. You talked of going to Haridwar to look into the Pandavahi, to get more of his history. When was he born? When did he die? How that could be corroborated with other sources. Obviously, in your work, you've gone through the maze of oral history, lot of anecdotes, a lot of sources scattered all over. Obviously, it would have been very difficult for you to navigate the world of facts and navigate the world of fiction. So how did you reconcile the two?
That was, and that is a challenge, because like we've said that we all acknowledge the fact that there's very little history written by the Sikhs themselves. Most of it is in the form of sakhis. But then, like in his case, in Baba Deep Singh's case, we are very fortunate to have an eyewitness account of his last battle. Temas Khan Miskin, he was there in the battle. And then you have shrines, memorial shrines that mark the battle. He spent 52 years in Damdama Sahib. And there's a lot of popular narrative, oral tradition that is there. I've met the family members of Pai Dal who had hosted Baba Deep Singh. So they have a lot of oral traditions about Baba Deep Singh being there. Then the last battle, there are shrines that mark the different phases of the battle, where he drew the line, where the battle started, Lakir Sahib, Ladkar Sahib, where he was wounded, Tala Sahib, where he was cremated, Shaheed Gan. So, and then I happened to meet a very interesting Nihang. There are many cenotaphs, samads that dot the area of the battlefield. Little gurdwaras everywhere. Some of them are just small little, one room with a Nishan Sahib. So I met a Nihang who had spent his entire childhood onwards with the Taruna Dal and Tala Sahib. Tala Sahib is where Baba Deep Singh got his mortal injury. So he had a lot of oral narrative which somehow coincided with, for example, Temas Khan Miskeen. I'll give you just one or two examples. Now, Temas Khan Miskeen says that we use cannon against the Sikhs. That's how they were all blasted, literally. First phase, the Sikhs put the Afghans to flight, as we saw. And the Afghan commander had to actually pull out his sword and wound some of his own men. Don't run. The next man who runs, I'll kill. That's how they stopped. Later on, when the cannons came, because he called reinforcements, so when the cannons were being used, the standard practice for the use of artillery in battle is that you mass the enemy together. You can't use cannon against a dispersed enemy. So the Afghans were trying to put these people together so that they can use artillery. And the Sikhs were trying to stay apart because they knew the game. So this is something that even the Nihang knew. He says, So, and it makes sense because, after all history is never written down. There's a lot that is passed down orally. So I've had to accept oral history, not on the face of it, but I've had to analyze it. And if it made sense, I've included it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Now, going from the stories of Temas Khan Miskin, who was a war historian, to the stories from Baba Deep Singh's life. I've gone through the book. There are several stories there, beautiful stories, very inspirational, each one of them. There's one where he goes to the house of Nawab and he tells him that you must release the young girls or else you face death. There are several such stories in the book and outside possibly. Would you like to share some of those stories, especially we have some women here, just to know the kind of approach Sant Sipahis and our warriors had towards women?
Yes, so we're looking at a time when being a non-Muslim was a problem. And so I've corroborated one of the stories, Pakka Kala, where he goes to rescue a lady. I couldn't find the other village, Pakki Gadi I couldn't find, but I did find one. So I did try to correlate whatever I found in, for example, there is a Tadi from Sabrahan who has a ballad on this particular story of Baba Deep Singh going to this Pakka Kala village. I've been to the village myself. And when I went there, I asked them, I said, was there ever a fort here? He says, yes, there was a fort here. And even now, the people who live in that area, the fort is no longer there, but the people in that area are called Kile Wale. Kila is a fort. So perhaps there is a lot of substance to whatever stories that we've heard about Baba Deep Singh.
I have many questions to ask him, but in the meantime, if any of you, आप लोगों को कुछ सवाल हो, तो हाथ जरूर उठाएं, and then we can carry on with the conversation, so that there's real engagement.
You want to be relieved for a few minutes.
No, no, I'm not want to relieve. I just want to make it more conversational. Okay, we have one here and then we'll go there. So, Saluja sir, question from you.
Colonel sir, I'm so glad to be here today. So glad to hear you. The way you have defined what Sikhism is, what Khalsa is. It's such simple words. The qualities of Khalsa. I think this particular thing should reach every Sikh to be educated, and I would like to know from you, sir. It's all right that your book has been released here, and we all are very fortunate to be here. But then, how do you plan to put this book, place this book in the hands of the majority of the Sikhs who have the desire to be educated on what really Sikhism is, what Khalsa is? And my second question, in your view, do you think Shaheed Deep Singh, Baba Deep Singh Ji, was really practicing all those qualities of the Khalsa? That's my question to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so the first question, I think I've done my job. So now it's yours. You go to carry the book. You take it wherever you like. It's available on Amazon. And there are booksellers in India who can ship it to you wherever you want. The more copies you order, the cheaper it gets, because then you share the freight. And, well, I mean, you see, we were not there in that time, but whatever we know, whatever we've learned, whatever we've heard and read about Baba Deep Singh, Professor Indu Banga, who's, I think today, she is the most authoritative historian on Sikh history. Professor Indu, she is Professor Emeritus, Punjab University. Even she's reviewed the book. And she has, I've quoted from her, I've said, she says that Baba Deep Singh was the living embodiment of the Khalsa ideology. This is what she has said. Because he was a warrior and a saint, a true Sant Sipahi. Khalsa was meant to be a warrior and a saint, both. So he perhaps epitomized that, you know, the ethos of the Khalsa warrior.
You have a question there?
And just one second, and I'd really like to add, because since you raised a very pertinent point that, you know, this is so important for Sikhs to know. So to wear a bana and a kirpan doesn't make you a Khalsa. You have to live it. And that is why if you go to the Golden Temple, there are two flags at the Akal Takht. One is higher. Guess which one is higher? Do ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਿਹੜਾ which is higher? ਹਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ higher ਉੱਚਾ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਪੀਰਾ ਦਾ ਉੱਚਾ. So it is the spirituality that must dictate even war. This is what the Khalsa ideology was all about. I have no comments for what is happening today, but nonetheless, this is how it started.
And since you are shifting facts and myths, that's why my question was, in your view, do you think he lived according to the tenets of Khalsa?
Yeah, because if you look at, I did flash some of those tenets on the screen. He fought in the forefront. Khalsa sois lade aage. He adorned himself with weapons. Shastra dhari sige. Plus he fought, he rescued, helpless people. And in war, they observed the code. We've got quotes from Qazi Nur Muhammad. And Baba Deep Singh was one of those warriors that he's talking about. So I think, to a fair measure, he perhaps actually lived the Khalsa ideology in appearance and in real life, and even in his death. Because the belief is, this is again a popular belief, sorry, I'm just going to take a minute, sir, that Guru Gobind Singh had given this benediction to Baba Deep Singh that one, that whatever you desire, you will get. That is why when he swore that I will reach the Golden Temple today, he reached, although he was mortally wounded. This is a benediction given by, Jimadan, Baba Guru Gobind Singh ne. Second var was ke, this was one, and the second was, I'm trying to recollect. It'll come back to me. Sorry, yeah, your question, yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Colonel Sahib. Thank you, Honorable Consul General. Colonel Sahib, it was particularly interesting to hear your presentation since you have spent your career in the Army, so it made it even so much more interesting and so much more, appropriate. I just had some observations which I wanted to share with everybody over here, that the values of freedom and justice for which Baba Deep Singh Shaheed fought are so relevant in the world today. Absolutely. With everything that's going on in the world, it couldn't be more relevant. And Baba Deep Singh Shaheed's, also his life teaches us that if a fight is morally correct, and like you mentioned in your presentation, a just war, one can win no matter how formidable your opponent is or how outnumbered you are, like you again mentioned in your presentation today. And that again is very appropriate in the world that we live in. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thanks for the observation.
And thank you very much for the book.
Thank you. Yes. So I've just recollected the second var. Second var was that I would like to die in battle. This was the second var which Guru Gobind Singh granted him. This is oral tradition, nothing written anywhere. Oral. Haji.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਬੋਲਿਆ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹੋ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਬਾਬਾ ਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੈ ਬੜਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਪਰਉਪਕਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਇੱਕ ਸੰਤ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਦਾ ਰੂਪ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰਗਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਐਪਰੀਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏ ਉਨਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਹੈ ਬਾਬਾ ਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਮਹਾਨ ਯੋਧੇ ਸੀ ਬਲਵਾਨ ਸੀ ਸੂਰਮੇ ਸੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਮਹਾਨ ਰਾਈਟਰ ਵੀ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 4 ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਉਤਾਰੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ ਚਾਰੇ ਤਖਤਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੱਥਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਲਿਖ ਕੇ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਇੱਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੋਰ ਬੜੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਦੇ ਬੜੇ ਆਲਮ ਸੀ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਸਰੂਪ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਖ ਕੇ ਅਰਬ ਕੰਟਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਘੱਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਤੋ ਬਾਬਾ ਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਸੱਚਮੁੱਚ ਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਮਹਾਨ ਸਿਪਾਹੀ ਸਨ ਮਹਾਨ ਯੋਧੇ ਸਨ ਮਹਾਨ ਸੂਰਮੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਚਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਕਹੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੰਡਾਏ ਬੜਾ ਲੰਬਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਦਮਦਮਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਲੋੜ ਪਈ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਦੇ ਵਿਰੁੱਧ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਬਦਾਲੀ ਵਰਗੇ ਆਏ ਬਾਬਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਬਾਬਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਖੜ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੰਗ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਅਨਿਆਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਬਾਬਾ ਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਲੜਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਤੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਰਿਮੰਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਆਪਣਾ ਸੇਵਾ ਸੰਭਾਲ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਤੋ ਬਾਬਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਹਾਦਤ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਟਾਨ ਕੋਟ ਪ੍ਰਣਾਮ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵੀ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਸਮਾਜ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਅਜੇ ਅਣਗੌਲੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਸੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ 'ਚ ਪ੍ਰਚਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਕਿਤਾਬਾਂ ਐਸੀਆਂ ਥਾਵਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਆਉਣਗੀਆਂ ਗੂਗਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈਣਗੀਆਂ ਫੇਸਬੁੱਕ 'ਤੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਡਿਟੇਲ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਵਟਸਐਪ 'ਤੇ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਆਮ ਲੋਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਤੋਂ ਕੁਛ ਲੈ ਸਕਣਗੇ ਤੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ
Thank you.
We'll also try to buy some books and distribute to among the community members.
14 books.
Okay.
Back. 14 I brought.
So we have a question there behind, yeah, lady, and then we'll come to you, sir. We have, yeah.
Sat Sri Akal. Baba Deep Singh Ji was a Dharm Yodha, and he had very strict principles about how to treat women, how to, not take any jewelry or anything from people, how to not attack the weak. The people who were fighting on the other side had the exact opposite values, whether it came to women, whether it came to jewelry, whether it came to anything. So how does a dharma yoddha, you as a military person, how does a dharma yoddha deal with a dharmic people on the other side of the battlefield?
That's a great question. And I think it's all about belief. I mean, Gandhi succeeded with his non-violent struggle because he believed in it. So even the Sikhs, the Khalsa, believed in this, in the principle that they will fight a just war, and even during war, their conduct will remain irreproachable. So it is a belief, and then I believe in this, that when you do something correctly, I think God helps you. So I think it was God's will, really speaking, that they were allowed to prevail because their intentions were honest. They were fighting for their own freedom. They were fighting to protect the weak and the poor and the helpless. So God listened to them. I think that's another way of looking at it. Thank you.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਰੂਜਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਬੜੇ ਅੱਛੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਉਹ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਿਆਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੁਝ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਇੰਸਪਾਇਰ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਦੀਵਾਨ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਜਿਸ ਦੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੰਸਪਾਇਰ ਮਿਲੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਲੜਕੀ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਦੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਦੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਲੜਕੀ ਵੀ ਖੋ ਲਈ और सारा सामान भी लुट के लै गए एंड देन दे केम टू बाबा जी के वी आर ऑल मीन इज वी आर प्राउड एंड देन बाबा दीप सिंह जी उस तो इंस्पायर होके उन्होंने फिर ये ना स्टार्ट किया सैकेंड जो मेन इंस्पिरेशन हुई सी जदों कि भाई मनी सिंह जी ते बाबा दीप सिंह जी उन्होंने दी ड्यूटी लाई सी गुरु ग्रंथ साहब की एडिटिंग करनी और नवा लिखना उस वक्त ज़करिया खान ने मस्से रंगड़ वेले जदों उन्होंने अपना जंग की है उस इंस्पायर होने क्योंकि वो मिसयूज़ कर रहा सी हरमंदर साहब ने तो उदों भी बाबा दीप सिंह जी ने इन्होंने इंस्पायर होकर फिर प्रेज किया सी कि मेरी जी अखीरली जी है ना अगर मैं अपने आप गिव अप कराँगा उत्थे जाकर भावें उन्होंने सिर कटिया भी गया सी तड़ लै गया सी उसके बावजूद उन्होंने अमृतसर आके शहीदी पाई सी जी कि इस गल दे विच I want to something add in this in the book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So one thing, Colonel, I learned going through the book, Vaisakhi is a special day in Sikhism, in Punjab, and many parts of India. But I saw that there's almost equal auspiciousness associated with Diwali. Holi, and because in the book you talk about the whole, on the day of Diwali, people taking holy dip in the Sarovar, doing, starting new ventures, new beginnings in life on the occasion of Diwali. Yes, Holi, Hola, right? We have to attend Holi festival, Hola Mohalla of Saluja Sahab next week. So we look forward to that. But tell us a little more about how Diwali is celebrated among Sikhs
yes,
in terms of heritage.
Yeah, I think basically because this was an Indian tradition. I mean, everyone in India celebrated Diwali. And of course, it has references to Hindu mythology or Hindu history. And of course, we take a leaf out of that history as well as Sikhs. And, but more importantly, there were two occasions when the Khalsa met in a year. Otherwise, they were all living in jungles, hiding from the enemy, raiding people, again, going off far away, hiding in a jungle somewhere. But there were two occasions when they all met in the Harmandir Sahib, at the Akal Takht, Diwali and Vaisakhi. And they would hold important meetings, they would take important decisions. So these were two very key dates in the Sikh Khalsa calendar in that time. And talking of Holi, why is Holi also so popular with Sikhs? Because Guru Gobind Singh started the Holi festival, he called it Hola, Hola Mohalla, in 1701. 1699, Khalsa Sajja, 1701, Hola celebration started, and it was actually a battle preparation. They would fight mock battles It was a very martial sort of a celebration. Yes. So horsemanship, gatka and all that, so that tradition is carrying on now. Yeah.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਕਰਨਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ आपने बड़ा उपराला